Hi, 5th grade. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 3 of our novel, Lunch Money. So please make sure you have your book open and that you're following along with me. Chapter 3 does start on page 18. Chapter 3, The Perfect Hammer. The very next day, Greg had started selling candy and gum in the shadow of the sliding board during lunch recess. Gum was 10 cents a stick, and he had sold tropical fruit starbursts at 3 for a quarter. Sales were brisk, and Greg was making some money, but it was risky. Kids took the candy and gum into their classrooms, which was against school rules. And if one kid had turned him in, Greg would have found himself having a little chat with the principal, Mrs. Davenport. So Greg began to look around for other things he could sell. He thought about the ads on TV when he watched his favorite shows. What do they always try to sell to kids, besides candy and breakfast cereals? Simple. Toys. Greg did some research on the internet and quickly discovered dozens of companies that sold toys and souvenirs and gadgets at incredibly low prices. You need to do what? That's what Greg's mom had said when he told her he needed to borrow her credit cards. And Greg had explained, I need to buy some toys, not for me. They're to sell to other kids to make some money. This company has great stuff and it's real cheap. But I need to order with the credit cards. I could pay you back with cash right away, if that's what you're worried about. His mom was actually worried about something else. She thought Greg spent too much time thinking about making money. Just a few days before, she had asked her husband, is it something we've done to make Greg like this? All he ever thinks about is getting rich. I want him to just enjoy being a kid. Hang out with his friends more, have more fun. But her husband had told her, as far as I can see, Greg's definitely a kid. He likes to read and draw. He plays sports and he gets good grades. I'd say he's pretty well balanced. And he seems to be having plenty of fun. This money thing is probably just a phase. Besides, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money or working hard. If that's what you call a problem, then I wish some other people in this family had it too. So his mom had used her credit card to help Greg place an order with the Knick-Knack Novelty Company. He ordered 154 miniature troll dolls, tiny plastic creatures with big eyes and long, bright hair, blue, red, orange, and green. Then Greg paid his mom $12 in cash to cover the cost of the credit card order, $10.50 for the trolls, and $1.50 for the shipping costs. The little trolls were a huge hit at school and an instant fad. Greg sold all 144 of them in 3 days for a quarter each, taking in a total of $36, and $24 of that money was pure profits. But Greg didn't call it profits. He liked to think of it as new money. Greg had taken $12 he already had, that was the old money, and he had used his money to buy 144 trolls for about 8 cents apiece. Then he sold each one for 25 cents. So he had made back all $12 of his old money, plus $24 of new money. And what did Greg do with his new money? He used it to place another bigger order with the Knick-Knack Novelty Company. 48 more trolls, 48 miniature super balls, 24 small jack-and-ball sets, 48 sticky, stretchy spiders, and 36 plastic rings, 12 for boys and 24 for girls. But the new items hadn't sold so well. After 2 weeks, only about 2/3 of the second order was gone. Kids had started to get bored with his products, and so had Greg. And there was another problem. During third period language arts one morning, he'd been called to the school office, and then he'd been shown into the principal's office. The first thing Greg noticed was the toys on her desk. Mrs. Davenport followed his eyes and nodded at the 4 mini super balls and the wad of sticky, stretchy spiders. She said, I got the super balls from Mr. Kensing. She caught Eddie Connors and Hector Vega bouncing them and hitting the lights on the ceiling of the gym. And I got the spiders from Mr. Percy, the custodian. He says these things have left oily marks on almost every window in the school. And Mr. Percy tells me that all the kids he asked said they bought them from you. Is that true? Greg nodded. Why are you selling toys at school? She asked. Greg shrugged. Make some money, and because they're fun. Mrs. Davenport said, "Those tiny trolls I saw all over the school a few weeks ago, were you the one selling those too?" Greg nodded. The principal said, "Well, I admire your initiative, but starting right now, you may not sell any more toys at school. The boys and girls already bring plenty of other nuisance items to school, and they do not need extra help from you. Is that clear?" Greg nodded and said yes. "Very well, you may return to your class now," asked Mrs. Ogden for a pass. Walking back to language arts that day, Greg hadn't been discouraged. He wasn't even unhappy. He faced the fact that his novelty toy business had been doomed from the start. For one thing, kids usually get tired of toys quickly, and Greg also realized it was amazing that his toy sales hadn't been shut down even sooner. If you sell toys to kids at school, that's where the kids will play with them, and toys and school are still a bad mix. Still, even though he hadn't sold all the toys from the second order, he made a small profit. Greg carefully reviewed what the principal had said to him, and again he saw the bright side. Because Mrs. Davenport had not said that he had to stop selling things at school, she had just said he had to stop selling toys. So all he needed was something else he could sell at school, something that wouldn't upset the teachers or Mrs. Davenport or the custodian. Even better, it would be great to sell something they would actually approve of. But what? What? The answer came to Greg as the first few days of summer began turning 5th grade into a fading memory. The answer was so simple, and it seemed absolutely foolproof. It would take some time and some hard work if you wanted to have everything ready in September for the start of 6th grade. But hard work was something Greg had never been afraid of, especially if the rewards were great enough. And he expected the rewards to be astounding. School was like a giant piggy bank, loaded with quarters. Greg was convinced that his new product would be like a hammer, the perfect hammer. He was going to crack the school wide open.